Jnanam teham sabhijnanam idam vakshami asheshataha yaj gyatva neha bhuyo nyaj gyatavyam abhishishyate jnanam
Знание включва знание за феноменалния свят, за духа отвъд него и за източника на двете. Това е трансцендентално знание. Господ иска да обясни тази познавателна система, защото Арджуна е негов доверен приятел и предано отдаден. В началото на 4 глава Господ обяснява, че пълно знание може да се получи единствено от него предано отдаден, което принадлежи към ученическата последователност, водеща началото си непосредствено от него. Тук това се потвърждава още веднъж. Човек трябва да бъде достатъчно интелигентен, за да разбере първоизточника на цялото знание, което е причината на всички причини и единствено обект на медитация на всички йога техники. За да разбере причината на всички причини, човек знае всичко, което може да бъде узнато. За него не стават неизвестни неща. В ведите му дака Упанишата 1.3 се казва: Касмин Бхагавато Видяте Сарвам Идам Видятам Правати.
Jnanam teham sabhijnanam idam vakshami asheshataha yaj gyatva neha bhuyo nyaj gyatavyam abhishishyate. Mukam kroti bachalam bhangam nangayate girim yat kripataraham vande Sri Gurundina Taranam. So the first word of this verse is jnanam. Here Srila Prabhupada translates jnanam as phenomenal knowledge. Phenomenal means this temporary material world. So jnanis typically understand in theory that this world is asat. It does not last, and therefore it is illusory. And beyond this phenomenal world, they understand, at least in theory, that there is an eternal self. And they try, by Jnana Yoga, to realize that self. But the complete understanding of the self is established in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Vaishnava literatures. And that is that the self that the Jnanis are searching for is a servant. One who understands this is a real Jnani. And one who seeks out the self but concludes that the self is the master or the supreme, the Lord, and he is in ajnana, he is in ignorance. So, jnana, real knowledge, means humility, and ajnana, ignorance, means pride. So Krishna explains ajnana and the pride that is associated with it in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita.
16 глава на Бхагавад-гита.
So, this pride appears in different ways.
Гордостта се проявява по различни начини.
Dambo, darpa, abhimanas cha, krodha, paurushameva cha, agyanam cha vijatasya, partha sampadim asurim. So he's explaining in this verse the asuri sampat. Asura sampat means the qualities of the demons, the asuras.
В този текст той обяснява асури сампат, или това са качествата, които са присъщи на демоните.
And he says, first of all, dambo. Dambo means they are very fond of prestige.
Първо те са дамбо, което означава, че те са много привързани към престижа.
Prestige is a certain kind of pride,
Престижът е вид гордост,
which is associated with one's accomplishments in the material world. For instance, if one is educated, has a degree from university, this is a source of damba or prestige, this type of pride.
Този вид гордост зависи от постижението на човек в материалния свят. Например, ако човек има получил диплома в университета, това е причината за дамба или такава гордост.
Then dambo darpa. Darpa means arrogance. Such a person, this is another way pride manifests in his dealings with others.
Дарба, следващото нещо, дарба или арогантност. И това е друг вид гордост, който се проявява в общуването на човек с другите хора.
And then the third manifestation of pride is abhimana. Abhimana means, it's the traditional ahamkara, to identify with the body as the self.
Третия вид гордост, това е абхимана или отъждествяването на азът с тялото.
So one whose consciousness is infected by these types of pride, then he's krodha. He's very easily angered.
И съзнанието на човек, който е помня на тези три вида гордост, такъв човек много лесно се разгневява.
Krodha paurusham mevacha. Paurusham means he speaks harshly. He's always criticizing others. So all of these qualities just mentioned, the three kinds of pride and anger and harsh speech, they comprise ajnana, ignorance. And ajnana, ignorance, in turn, is the asura sampat. It is the quality of the demons. So, demons, as Krishna says in the same chapter, pabrittim cha nibrittim cha jana asura evacha, that the demons, they never can tell what should be done and what should not be done. In other words, they're always doing the wrong thing, always going in the wrong direction. They never learn because they're puffed up and because they're stupid. So, this jnana, as explained here, phenomenal knowledge of this material world, this means simply to recognize by observing our position. It's a simple thing to recognize the plain fact of our position in this material world, that I'm not the master, I'm not the Lord, There's no reason for me to be proud. I am a servant. We see in the world today, there is the famous virus, AIDS, is spreading rapidly. They estimate that in 7 years, year 2000, 120 million people will have this disease. Now, this disease was discovered in 1979. And the scientists have been desperately working in their laboratories to find a cure. Because this disease attacks the very essence of their concept of what life is meant for. This asuric, demoniac conception that life, just Krishna mentions this also. Kim kama haitukam. Everything, the ultimate purpose of everything is kam, is sex. Sexual enjoyment. That's the only meaning. Shri Krishna says, this is the philosophy of the demons. This is the only meaning they see in this world. It's meant for sex life. Mm-hmm. So, all of their energies are devoted. This whole civilization, so-called, is devoted to that end. And now along comes this virus, the AIDS virus. And it is spoiling the whole thing. Now, this AIDS virus, what is a virus? A virus is simply a protein shell. A virus you can only see with microscope, very high-powered microscope. And all it is a protein shell, like a kind of geometric shape. And inside, there are some DNA, this, DNA. Anyway, this, yes. There's DNA. That's all a virus is. It doesn't have a brain. It doesn't have eyes or ears or a mouth. It has apparently no senses at all. And it actually shows no life symptoms at all. Until it enters the human body. And then it smuggles itself into human cells. And as the human cells reproduce, it reproduces itself. And as you know, gradually it destroys this immune system in the body. So that in the end, the person who has AIDS, he may die simply from getting a cold. So, now, the scientists discovered the disease, first of all, in 1979. And then in 1983, they identified the virus. It took them 4 years to find that it's this virus that causes the disease.
Учените са открили тази болест през 79 година и 4 години по-късно, 83 година, са открили, че този вирус е причината за болестта.
And when they found the virus, then they very proudly, like good demons, they said, now we have everything under control. We will very soon have a cure because we know what exactly is causing this disease. At that time in 1984, the scientists were predicting that certainly within 10 years we will have defeated this disease. Now it is almost 10 years later. And the scientists are saying now, within 10 years, we may have defeated this disease. And by way of explanation, you see, to explain why it's taking so long, they say, this virus is very clever. They say, it is like a master criminal. Very expert at disguising itself, hiding itself. Even it changes this, we mentioned this protein shell. So it changes that. It mutates. Mm-hmm. So the scientists, they try to find a way to stop one type of AIDS virus, but in the meantime, it changes and so many more types appear that cannot be stopped by this one process. Now just see, here's this virus which I explained. It's just a protein shell with DNA inside, and it's defeating the big scientists of the whole world. This virus never went to university. So how is it possible that this such an entity as an AIDS virus is able to outsmart the top scientists of the whole world? So, to understand this requires jnana, requires some knowledge, which these demoniac scientists don't have. So one with jnana knows that behind this phenomenal world is the intelligence of Krishna. Maya yakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanina kaunteya jagat viparyavartate. So Sri Krishna says that I am controlling this material energy. It is my energy. And from out of this material energy, all living entities, moving and non-moving, just like AIDS virus is non-moving living entity. All these living entities are coming out under my direction. So, it is Krishna who has made the AIDS virus clever. Otherwise, how can such a microscopic, non-moving entity without even the slightest brain substance, how it can defeat these scientists? This requires jnana, knowledge to understand. And here we see how the material nature, in the form of this AIDS virus, which is this species of life, is a product of material nature, as Krishna says. So here we see how material nature is defeating the demons and their plans of material sense enjoyment. That is the business of this material nature, to kick the demons in the head. Whatever they try, smash in the head. Take that, you rascal. Oh, now I will enjoy in this way. Crash. No, rascal, you will suffer. Oh, no, I've thought of a new way to enjoy. Smash. And this goes on, life after life after life, even universe after universe after universe. But these demons, Dambo Darpa Abhimanascha Krauda Parushameva cha Agyanam Chabijatasya. These demons never learn. Because they have less brain than an AIDS virus. That's a fact. Even the AIDS virus defeats them. So jnana, this simple knowledge, is just to know, I'm not the master, I'm not the Lord, I have no reason to be proud. I am servant. And vijnana means to put that knowledge into practice, to actually serve Krishna. And Krishna says, one who knows this, that we are servants, and then how to serve, he knows everything. For him, there's nothing more to be known. Now, these terms, I want to explain these terms. Phenomenal, jnana is phenomenal knowledge, and vijnana is, the word in English is numinous, or it means eternal, knowledge of the eternal realm. The fools, again, those who are ignorant, they reverse these two. They reverse the importance of these two. One who's in real knowledge knows that I am soul. And I have a body. One who's in ignorance, you see, this is the phenomenal and numinous knowledge. I am soul. That's numinous. That's my eternal identity. And I have a body. That's the phenomenal knowledge. But the fools, they reverse this. I am the body and I have a soul. Or they may say, maybe I have a soul. In any case, it's not very important. The important thing is, I am the body. So persons in this ignorant state, they can never understand devotional service. They can never come to this vijnana stage. Persons in this ignorant state can never understand devotional service. They can never come to the vijnana stage. Because they're totally absorbed in the external energy, the body. They take that to be all important. And spiritual life doesn't really matter to them. There's a story of a boy who, his name was Panchanam, and he was born in a jungle village in Bengal. So, in the tropical jungle villages, it's very common. Well, it's the normal thing for the children up until age 5, 6, like that. They run around the village naked. So this boy Panchanam, his nickname was Penko. And because he was running naked, the village people always called him Naked Penko. And he was also very naughty. He was always playing jokes and tricks and getting into trouble. So they would, when the village people would talk about him, they would say, that naughty, naked Penko. Now, naughtiness in a young boy is actually the sign of great intelligence. So when he got older, he entered school and he was a very good student. He had to enter school, he had to leave the village. So, but word was coming back, a report was coming back to the parents that Penko, he's an excellent student. But when this news went around the village, the other villagers, they just laughed. Ha! Naked Penko. So what if he's a good student? It won't come to anything. He's useless. Just a naughty, naked boy. Then some years later, news came to the village that Penko had passed his examination in the law school. And all the villagers, they said, oh, They said, this naughty naked Penko, he must have cheated. It's the only way he could have passed. Then, some years after that, the news came that Penko has become a big judge in the high court. And all the villagers said, what? Naughty naked Penko is a big judge? Well, he may be a judge, but they're not paying him. I'm sure that he gets no salary. Who would pay him? He's just a naked boy. So, this story illustrates when some foolish person only sees the body. You see, just like they could only think of Penko as a naked 5-year-old boy. So, as he became advanced in his schooling and finally became a judge, they could not appreciate. Their only conception of him is he's a 5-year-old naked boy. How can he be doing these things? And so similarly, when fools in the bodily conception of life, when they hear about devotional service to Krishna, that actually we are not the body, but we are spirit soul, and we are meant to serve Krishna. In this way we advance in spiritual consciousness. And even though we may have so many disqualifications in this body, one surpasses them, becomes siddha, spiritually perfect, goes back home, back to Godhead. They just shake their heads. What is this nonsense? You are just naked Penko. Yes, our friends last night, that's what they're thinking, who are outside the house. That there are just so many naked Penkos in this house. What are they doing? Whatever they say they're doing, that's all nonsense. We know what they are. So yes, a fool, a rascal, one who is ajnana, in ignorance, he can never come to this point of vijnana. Vijnana means actually taking up the spiritual activity, the activity of the real self, the soul, service to Krishna. So Sri Krishna in this verse is telling Arjuna that in Bhagavad Gita, he is presenting everything that is to be known. First, the jnana, the understanding of what we are. As I said, that we are soul, and we simply have a body. Not that we are the body and we have a soul. That is jnana. And then the activity of the soul, which is vijnana, to serve Krishna. In this way, the soul becomes promoted back home, back to Godhead, out of this material world.
притежаваме тела, не че сме тела, които имат души. И след това вигьяна, т.е. дейностите, които трябва да извършваме. Това е именно служенето на Кришна, което ще помогне на душата да се издигне и да излезе извън материалния свят и се върне обратно при Бога.
Are there any questions?
Има ли въпроси?
Yes.
I want to ask if now we know these things are happening now. I want to know if the cause for all these disturbances which are created now, can it also be in ourselves? Because in the devotee's mind.
Бих искал да разбера дали причината за всички тези неприятности, които имаме сега, може да е самите предани отдадени.
Well, Sri Krishna is the supreme controller, as Prabhupada used to say. Not even a blade of grass moves without Krishna's direction.
Кришна е върховният повелител и както Шри Прабхупад казваше, дори едно стръкче трева не може да се помръдне без знанието.
And Krishna accomplishes many purposes in his activities and his arrangements.
И Кришна постига много цели посредством своите аранжименти и дейностите, които извършва.
So, certainly this, as we explained this morning, this test that we're having to undergo now is for our purification as devotees.
И както вече обясних тази сутрин, този тест, на който сме подложени сега, със сигурност е за да може да се пречистим.
But apart from that, there are demons out there.
Но като изключим това, освен това има и демони.
And their business is to oppose the Krishna consciousness movement.
И тяхната работа е да се противопоставят на движението за Кришна съзнание.
And the business of Krishna's devotees is to oppose these demons.
Работата на преданните на Кришна е да се противопоставят на демоните.
Not to simply beat himself on the head and say, oh, it's all my fault. Although we may say it is a fact that this whole incident is to help us overcome our own anarthas, our own laziness, and so on. The way we will overcome it is by fighting these rascals, fighting their attempt to destroy Prabhupada's movement in this country. Actually, Arjuna, in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, more or less, when he faced with the battle, more or less, he was throwing up his hands and saying, it's all my fault. More or less he was saying, because he proposed to Krishna that just let them take everything. Who are we to fight with them?
Той също признава, че това е негова грешка. Като остави оръжието си, той всъщност иска да каже, кои сме ние, за да се бием срещу тях, да се сражаваме срещу тях.
But as we all know, Lord Krishna didn't accept this. He told Arjuna, you must fight.
Както всички знаем, Бог Кришна не приел това и му казва, че трябва да се сражава.
So if there is impurity on the part of the devotees, it will only be eradicated by the heart, in the heart, by fighting the demons. Yes? You're speaking of what verse? Oh, ahead. You're looking ahead. And what is this?
In that constitutional position, only can they be controllers. I was reading this earlier.
Can you translate what she said? Well, I'm trying to find the statement that she's referring to. Oh, it's in the quote. Oh, I see. You see the quotation from the Bhagavatam? So there's the statement. In that constitutional position, only can they be controllers. Yes. Is that what it says there?
It said that they will be controlled, not be controllers.
They will be controlled.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a wrong translation. Aha. Mistake. Press the red button. Yes. So this verse says, the first point is that the living entities are under the control of Krishna. So their liberation is in surrendering to the control of Krishna. And then they can become controllers. Meaning that by surrendering to Krishna, then Krishna directs them to serve him utilizing his energy. Just as Arjuna was the victor in the battle of Kurukshetra. He was the hero. But that was because he surrendered to Krishna. It was Krishna's desire that he win the fight. And Srila Prabhupada says that although it is Krishna only who makes this possible for his devotee to be victorious, his devotee to be a great controller, as in the case of a pure devotee who becomes like Maharaj Dhruva, who became king of the whole world. This is all by the grace of Krishna. But Krishna likes to give credit to his devotee. So everyone thinks that the devotee is the hero, the devotee is the controller. The devotee, of course, knows it is only by the grace of Krishna. And if the living entities do not surrender to Krishna, then they are defeated.
те биват побеждавани.
You understand? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Sухотра Махараджа ki jai.